Hello everybody, and welcome to the Eastern Arizona College seminar called Taking Your Business to the Next Level. My name is Charmaine Chittister. I'm a business analyst here at Eastern Arizona College, and I am happy to have you join us. This is going to be a second recording of this webinar. If you logged into our webinar, it might sound a little different because I didn't hit the record button in time. So we're going to get through this presentation as quickly as possible so that you can utilize all the information that we've provided for you. So, like I said, I'm at Eastern Arizona College. Some of you might be watching this from different locations. We have small business development centers throughout the state of Arizona and even nationwide. You can see here on the map, all of the red dots are our lead centers. The blue dots are our satellites. And you also see the little PTAC, our Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. Those are also located throughout the state. And I'm going to explain to you more as we move on with our presentation on how to take your business to the next level, of how PTAC might benefit you. I've been with our center for 10 years, and if you have any questions at the end of this seminar, you're welcome to email me or call me directly, and I'll be able to guide you and get you in the right direction. We're here in Thatcher, Arizona, where that purple arrow is, and I'm happy that we have a new building here on campus. So if you haven't come and visited us this last year, you might need to come to a different location when you show up to see us. We're now located at 576 College Avenue in Thatcher. Before we get started, I do want to share with you that we have a new partnership with the Arizona Commerce Authority. Arizona Commerce Authority has made it a real priority this last year to try and reach out to the rural businesses so that we can make sure that all of our small business owners have the resources that they need. So if you haven't heard of them yet, you can go to azcommerce.com. They have a really great business checklist on there that you can go through and mark everything that you want to do with your business, and it will help you figure out what type of licensing and items that you would need to become legal. And we're also, of course, happy to help you go through that process. But be sure if you have any issues that you need help with, let us know. We have a liaison with the Arizona Commerce Authority that we can use for your benefit to make sure that the state knows what's going on with small businesses in rural Arizona. So our agenda is going to be pretty simple. We're going to talk about where your business is now, where you want to be, and how you can get there. Obviously, since this is going to be recorded, there's not going to be a question and answer session. But again, my contact information will be at the end if you have any questions. You won't need to use that chat box, but I do want to remind you that some of the programs that'll be featuring today and talking about might be site specific. So if you're not in our area, which includes Graham, Gila, and Greenlee counties in Arizona, your SBDC may or may not have some of these programs. And they actually might have additional programs that I won't be talking about today. So be sure that you reach out to them and find out if any of these programs are available for you. I also want to make sure that you understand that this webinar is not for business startups. Most of the programs I'm going to be featuring today are going to be for businesses that have been in business at least a couple of years. So all of the information is relevant to any business owner, but it will be specific to existing businesses. So where is your business now? I think about business wellness checkups. So I have 4 kids, and every year I'm at the doctor for their wellness checkups, and the doctor evaluates their height, their weight, how they compare to other kids, and we talk about any concern areas that might need to be monitored. We make sure they have all their immunizations and they can touch their toes and all that good stuff. Our businesses should be going through the same kind of evaluation, at least on an annual basis, but if not, a monthly basis is even better. So you might be surprised to know that a large number of businesses that come in for support can't answer some really basic questions, but I'm not surprised. In fact, it's really more common than not, but that's what we're here for. Some of these questions that I would be asking you if you came in to see me would be, what are your sales right now and how are they trending? Are they going up, down, remaining the same? Are you making a profit? I'm always surprised a lot of business owners don't know if they're making a profit, and that's a bit of a concern. We want to make sure that you know if you're making a profit. And then we also have the idea of cash flow. So cash flow is something that a lot of business owners don't think about so much, but it usually comes through in a question like this. We've had great sales this month, but I have no money in my bank account. So that's what cash flow is. It's different than profit, and understanding the differences between sales, profit, and cash flow can be a little confusing, but it's also really important to have a firm grasp on all of these. You can see here in this statistic that 82% of all businesses fail because of inconsistent or insufficient cash flow. So we're going to talk about that now. Let's just look at this chart, for example. So here we have a really simple cash flow statement and a simple profit and loss or income statement on the right. Now we know for this business that it takes 30 days to get paid on an invoice once they bill it, and they also have to run payroll at the end of each month. So in January, even though we made a sale, our cash flow is zero because we didn't get paid yet, right? We have 30 days to get paid. However, our fixed expenses are still due, so we have an outflow of $25 for our fixed expenses, which means we have a negative cash flow. So this is your bank account, which means you might be in trouble, right? However, on the profit and loss statement, we record the sale of $100 and we pay the fixed cost and show a profit of 75. So you can see that sometimes our bank account doesn't reflect our sales, and that's where a lot of business owners get confused. So cash flow and profits, they're different. You can see here, our profit and loss statement says we have $75. Our cash flow statement says a negative 25, and that's a big difference. So in February, on our cash flow statement, we receive the payment, and so now we're recording it. So we pay our direct cost and we end up with $75 net cash flow, and our year to date is now at 50. In the profit and loss statement for February, we didn't make any sales, but we have to pay our fixed costs, showing a net loss of $25. Now you'll see that at the end of February, our net cash flow equals our net profit, but it's only when the cash is received and payments align. In the real world, this often never happens because, as we all know, bills and sales are a continuous process. So unless all your customers pay you immediately and you have no accounts receivable, which is money owed to you, and all the money that you pay to your vendors is paid immediately, which means you have no accounts receivable or money that you owe, there will always be a difference in your cash flow and your net profit. Understanding this difference is the first step to managing your business's financial health. And we can help you do that through some of our simple Excel spreadsheets or something more complex like our Profit Mastery program, which we'll visit more about here in a little bit. So let's talk about industry outlook. So staying on top of your industry is an important thing to do. Now, we used to do this through trade magazines. Magazines have kind of gone to the wayside a little bit. There's still some out there floating around in the newsstands, but a lot of them have gone online, which often makes it free or inexpensive to stay up to date with whatever industry you're in. So if you're a restaurant, you should be subscribing to trade industry specific magazines for restaurants or contracting. Those are things that you have easy access to. And that's a way to look for trends, look for industry information and information that you might be able to utilize in your small community. Another thing that you can do is set up a Google alert. If you haven't done this before, I'd highly recommend it. Just go onto Google and type in Google Alerts, and it'll take you to a website on Google that allows you to set up a customizable email that will come to you depending on how often you want it, anywhere from once a day to once a week. And it will basically scour the internet for any news that is generated by your keywords. So here is my Google alert. I have one for Small Business Development Center so that I can see what other SBDCs are doing throughout the country. So what I get is an email every day that looks like this, and it looks like a search engine result. It has a nice little summary and it has a hyperlink on it so that I don't have to sit there and look every day and do a Google search to see what's in the news. Google does it for me and sends it to me, so it's a lot quicker. So if you're running a coffee house or a dentist office, you can go in there and you can put dentist office, and what will happen is any current news will come to you. So if there is a dentist office in Colorado Springs that just had this really neat promotion and they got all this business and the local newspaper did a story on it and they publish it online, you're going to get that story. So it's a great way to look and see what everybody else is doing around the country. Another place that you can look is IBIS World. I'm actually going to click on this link here, and we're going to go and look at IBIS World. Expand here. So in IBIS World, there is a fee involved to have complete access to everything that's on here. But even if you don't want to pay, sometimes you can find free information. So if I click on restaurants here, and then click on the first link, we're going to see that it is giving us some information about the total revenue for the year. It gives us the annual growth rate of 3.2%, which is good to know what the growth rate is for the industry that you're in. Some of these other things are locked because of membership, but you can access some information just by clicking on it. So that's one great resource. Another great resource is the sbdcnet.org, right down here. sbdcnet.org is something that your business counselor at your SBDC has access to, and we actually will get some of those things that are in IBIS World that are all locked up. We'll have complete access to that. Let me just click on it and show it to you. So you can see I have an advisor login right here. So I can access things that you won't be able to, or your business counselor will be able to access things that you can't. But there are also resources on here, such as business snapshots, that would be useful. So SBDC counselors can request specific information for zip codes, for competitive analysis, for opportunity gaps for a specific demographic, or even business plans that are specific to certain industries. But what happens is this center, which is located in San Antonio, Texas, and is part of our SBDC nationwide network, they take the recurring requests that they have, and they will make these little business snapshots. So for example, obviously they've had a lot of people ask about coffee shops. So if you click on coffee shops and you go in here, you're going to see that they have some interesting information. They have talk about the competitive landscape. They have market research. You're going to find information from trends and reports from National Coffee Association. So there's one of those trade organizations right there that we were talking about. Here are the major markets. So you can look at where the household earnings are for the current major markets. Looks like we're trending towards actually less money than I would anticipate. I would think if somebody's paying $3 to $5 for a cup of coffee, they might be more up here in this 70,000 plus, but they're not. So anyway, interesting information that you can look at, and it's all free of cost for you to access this. If you want a customizable report, you have to work with a SBDC counselor, and they will be able to go in and ask specific information just for your business. It takes anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to get the information back, depending on how busy they are. So those are some ways to stay on top of what your industry looks like right now. Now, here are some examples of some of the spreadsheets that I have received when I have asked for custom programs and reports from the SBDC net. So this is a really simple demographic comparison report for Greenlee County and the different towns in Greenlee County here in Arizona. Now, this is pretty simple data. So most of this is available through the census, so you can get this online, but it helps you and start to narrow down. So if you know that your target market is going to be a blue collar male that makes over $50,000 a year, you can see where you can start to use these percentages to figure out exactly how many people might be utilizing your service in that area. But we get a little bit more specific with our reports as we move on to something like this. This is a consumer expenditure comparison report, again for that same area. It talks about how much money somebody in these areas would spend on these specific products. So if you were looking at opening up a, let's see, a cosmetic and perfume and bath shop where you're selling wares like that, you can start to see about how much money annually somebody would spend here. Let's see, Dunkin' is at 107, but Morenci is at 211. So you might say, gee, maybe Morenci is the place we need to be. So you can utilize information in that way. And then the last report I'm going to share with you is my favorite. It's called the Opportunity Gap. The Opportunity Gap takes the current demand against the current supply and lets you know if there is a gap or a surplus in current businesses that provide this business or this service or product in this area. So I will say that you have to use your local filter to make sure that you feel that these numbers are right. Some smaller towns might have a lot of people shopping in the town right next door, so you have to keep that in mind. But you can see here that things that are in the black mean that there's a surplus. So if your business wanted to start something that had, let's see, this furniture and home furnishing store in Greenlee County, according to this, there's a $2.3 million gap. So if I wanted to start a furniture store in Greenlee County, then I would have this data to provide with my business plan to a bank to get financing. What's great about this data is that it's third-party information. So it's not just you saying, hey, I really want to get this business here, and I think there's a demand. It's a study that says there is an opportunity for this segment in this area. So this type of data can go great with a business plan if you're looking for financing. So next, I want to show you a little video. This video is geared towards business analysts and counselors like myself, but it explains the program and how we can use it to better serve our clients. It's from a program called Profit Sense. Now, Profit Sense is a program that allows us to input your financials over the past few years, generate reports that go beyond the average profit and loss or cash flow statement, and compare your performance to industry standards to show your strengths and weaknesses. This data is actually compiled by real accountants all over the United States. So when they do taxes for, let's say, a bakery, they have marked that it's a bakery, and that information can get swept up and accumulated so you can have a sample group of real bakeries to look at gross profit margin or cost of goods sold. So this information is real, and it can help put your business on the right track to know how you're doing compared to other businesses in your industry. So I'm just going to play this so you can listen to it. And again, it's aimed at me and my coworkers, but you'll understand better why it's a resource for you also.
The vast majority of business owners rely on their accountants to analyze their financial statements, but translating these statements into actionable insights for the client's business is not easy. Thousands of accounting firms from across the country are using Profit Sense by SageWorks. Profit Sense will change the way you consult with businesses by providing them a deeper understanding of their financial condition year-round with the patented and automated Profit Sense narrative report, which takes financial information and makes it come alive in the form of graphs, charts, and an easy-to-understand narrative. You can also benchmark your clients against their industry and tailor your recommendations for improvement using SageWorks real-time industry data. But poring over clients' financials and telling them what happened last year is only one aspect of your job. Helping your clients plan for the future and becoming a trusted business advisor is now more important than ever. With Profit Sense, you can perform projections and illustrate specific what-if scenarios to quickly show your clients the impact that certain changes will have on their cash flow or value of their business. As clients' needs and expectations are evolving, public accountant firms are using Profit Sense to identify new opportunities and sell more services to existing clients. Differentiate your firm and stop competing on price. Profit Sense. Request a demo today.
So we have a licensing agreement to do this with any client. This program is only accessible by your in-person consultation with our SBDC advisors. It's at no cost to you, but you can't access it directly online by yourself. So of course, it all starts with having accurate information from your financial statement. So if we need to back up that information by starting with getting you those reports to begin with, you know, what is your cash flow, what is your income statement, we can certainly help you get those in order first. So now let's talk about the SWOT analysis. When we talk about where your business is now, many of you may have heard of the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So strengths are going to be an internal, along with weaknesses are internal things. What are you doing that is great for your business? What's your real forte? And where maybe are some of the weaknesses that you need to work on? And then the opportunities and threats are going to be things externally. So being able to figure out, what happens when somebody comes and offers the same product that you're offering and they open up a half a mile from your business. What is that going to do? Doing a SWOT analysis helps you identify markets you could be missing or areas where your business is vulnerable. So trying to really examine your business model is a great thing to do through a SWOT analysis. So that can help you understand where your business is now. And then when we look at using the SWOT analysis and using the information that we get from the industry outlook and the resources that I just shared with you from that, then we can start to really think about where our business is now and then where do we want to be. So we start with, how stable is my business now, right? The roots. Are we strong enough? Do we have all the all pieces of information, access to capital, and things that we need to then grow? Do we have that capability? Some businesses can grow too quickly and actually crush themselves in the process. So we want to make sure that we have that framework so that you can grow, and then hopefully at the end you're making the decisions that will help you be fruitful and strong and make your business what it can be. I want you to think about your business decisions and how they will impact you using the 10-10-10 rule. That means, how will this decision impact me in 10 days, in 10 months, and in 10 years? So you might think, well, I think I got a pretty good hand on that, but let's look at some examples of businesses that maybe didn't have such a great hand on that. So if you can remember back to the years where we had Blockbuster, Hollywood Videos, other in-person video rental businesses. This used to be the date night when my husband and I were dating and then got married. And I kind of miss going there. And that was part of the date night. You went in, you picked out your video, you bought your candy, you gave them your Blockbuster card, and they scanned it, and you got all checked out. And Blockbuster was doing great in the 1990s. It was sustainable. It had the capacity to grow. So the roots and the tree trunk was all there. But think about it. They had the at-home movie watching list of customers nailed down. They had our phone numbers, they had our addresses, they had our emailing addresses. No one could have moved faster to launch a streaming service than them. They had over 9,000 stores and employed 84,000 people, but poor leadership led to slow adaptation. And as streaming businesses became more popular, Blockbuster didn't adapt fast enough. I can still remember when they started trying to push streaming services, and I didn't get it. I thought, why would I want to try and launch a video at my house? I'm just going to come here and buy it, right? So they didn't market it very well. Now, if they had adapted the 10-10-10 model, things might have turned out very differently for them. So let's look at another company that did plan well. Do any of you remember the Deluxe Checks? This was the original checkbook company. Honestly, I haven't thought about them much since I hardly ever use checks anymore, hence the issue that they might have, right? How many of you still use checks? Not very many. So I was really surprised when I logged into a webinar last year for a social media webinar, and the guest presenter was from Deluxe. And I thought, you mean the check people? And it's like she read my mind. She said, if you're thinking, do you mean the check people? Yep, that's us. And I was really surprised to learn more about the company. I was just curious to see how they had adapted. In 1910, the founder, W.R. Hotchkiss, invented a little product that would change banking, and it was the checkbook. So he was the creator of the first checkbook. And then with a big idea and plenty of dedication, he took a $300 small business loan and founded the Deluxe Corporation. That humble beginning turned into a century of helping consumers entrepreneurs, enterprises, and financial institutions thrive. So I really like what they say. They say solutions that evolve alongside our customers. So if you go to their website, you'll get a little pop-up menu and it says, welcome to the new deluxe, accelerate success with the brand you know and trust, transformed for today's business needs. So according to their information on their website, it says our history as a company has been astounding, but even more important is our drive to keep evolving. Every time our customers have said, we want more, we have delivered. Their changing needs have driven us to create what's next today. We are an integral part of everyday business, and we support thousands of financial institutions, power millions of small businesses, and move billions of dollars. So this is a company that did really good, where they said, gee, people are starting to do electronic transactions. They're not writing checks anymore. What can we do? Well, we work with a lot of small businesses. What other services do they need? Well, that's when social media started becoming big. So they figured out how they could become an expert in social media and deliver those same services to their current clientele. And that's a great way of looking at the future and evolving. In fact, they've evolved so well, they even have a television show right now called Small Business Revolution. They had Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank on here the first season or two. And now they have, what's this guy's name? I can't remember his name, from Extreme Home Makeover. And they have some pretty big celebrity power, but they go into these towns and they try to help small businesses on Main Street. So again, this is on Hulu. It's just another example of how the company has evolved to continue to reach out to their target market and stay relevant. So where do you want to be? So we talk about lifestyle businesses a lot. A lifestyle business would be a type of business that you want to run because you want to have Saturdays off, or you want to be able to be your own boss, and you're not necessarily looking at scaling your business. And so a lot of times when I meet with business owners, I have to understand where they're at in life, because it's easy to make an assumption as a business counselor that somebody that comes in is ready to grow their business. We're going to figure out how to get more loans so that we can generate more revenue, so we can hire more employees, and so on and so forth. But I like the story, the concept of the fisherman. So there's a story that's shared that says some tourists were at a popular fishing area, and they walked out onto the dock and they saw this gentleman, and he was just sitting there fishing, enjoying a drink, and they started to visit with him, and they found out he was a fisherman. And it was only about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they said, these waters are full of fish. And he said, yeah, I've just got my one boat. I fish in the morning and then take it to market, and then have the rest of the day off. And they said, but there's so many fish, why not get more boats, hire more employees, sell more fish? And he said, so I can do all of that and get half the day off. And of course, the irony here is that he was already living the lifestyle he wanted. Doing a lot more work to turn around and still have that lifestyle was not something that he wanted. So you've got to have a vision for your business when you think about how do you want this to grow in the future. And it's fine if you don't want it to grow exponentially. You got to do what's going to make you happy. So sometimes we can have a hard time finding that vision. And one of the things I'd like to do is suggest a podcast. There's a lot of great podcasts out there. This one's my favorite. It's called How I Built This with Guy Raz. It's on National Public Radio. Now, if you haven't listened to a podcast before, it's really simple. You can even go and Google this and you can listen to it on your computer. But if not, if you have Spotify or Pandora or iPodcasts on your Apple products, you can look it up and you can subscribe to it so you can get new episodes every time they come out each week. And what Guy Raz does is he sits down with an entrepreneur of a successful business, and he visits with them about where they were in their life when they were a kid, and what their family life was like, and if they went to college. And about 15-20 minutes into the 40-minute segment, they'll finally start talking about the business concept. He has Five Guys Burger, he has 1-800-GOT-JUNK, he's got Panera Bread. And so all these business owners, they're just really inspirational to listen to, because you learn a couple of things. First of all, you'll learn that maybe they didn't have a vision to begin with, but they definitely found it somewhere along the way. And you're also going to learn about all the obstacles that they overcame. I think it's really easy to do what most of us do, say, walk into a Five Guys burger, go, man, this family's making money hand over fist. These places are everywhere. And you don't stop to think about the challenges that were met along the way, like not getting the financing or having arguments with your family. And this podcast will help you understand that if they can do it, you can do it. The other thing you have to think about is really where do you want to be as the business owner? If you're going to be completely submersed in this business over the next couple of decades, you have to be able to understand where your power comes from, and it's going to be coming from understanding your financial reports. So here's a report that we use in our Profit Mastery program, which is another program that we can do with any of our clients to help you find cash within your business. Maybe you just need to tighten up your accounts receivable a little bit more, try to get paid, or maybe you need to get your accounts payable extended out a little bit longer. So this is a kind of a summary of a cash flow analysis. The top part is the profit plan, which is similar to the income statement. The middle section is the cash position or the cash flow statement, and the bottom is the loan section, both short-term and long-term. So you can look at what those debt payments do to your cash flow as you pay off your loans. So being able to look at a spreadsheet like this and understand it as a business owner is just something that is really required for you to understand how your business can grow. For example, if you look at line 1 here under total sales, you'll see this business, like many businesses, is seasonal. It drops off during the colder months and gets busier during the warmer months. So here we have in March, we've got $128,000 in sales. Clear up till May, we hit 185, and then it starts to trickle back down. Now, if you jump down to cash position on line 25, you're going to look at some pretty big deficits in this cash flow. Now, the reason for this is because the accounts receivable and the accounts payable, which is money that we're owed by our customers and then money that we are supposed to be paying for our vendors, that period is 60 days out, which means sometimes those sales numbers don't really reflect in our cash position, just like we looked at earlier in the webinar. But managing this and expecting it and having access to short-term debt and long-term debt eventually pays off for this business owner. You can see if you look towards December, you're going to see that things are looking all right now. We paid off all the short-term money we had to borrow and the business is still profitable. But if you were in, say, April, where we have a negative $68,000 in our cash flow, you might have been tempted to shut the business down. But if we look at these reports and we project correctly, then you're able to predict these seasonality, these fluctuations in your cash flow, have the credit line available to yourself and get through those times and have confidence that everything is still going to be all right. So again, this is another program we have called Profit Mastery, and we can definitely help you become the Yoda of your own finances. The other thing I want to talk to you a little bit is about PTACT. So PTACT is the Arizona Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and here's a couple of our PTACT employees here. Now, if you're looking at growing your business, one of the ways you might do that is government contracting. So if you're not sure if your product or service is something the government would be interested in purchasing, you can work with one of our advisors and they can actually go into the computer and put in the type of industry that you are and look to see if there's anything that's gone out to bid in that specific NAICE code, which is a 6-digit code specific to your industry. So you could go in here and see how many contracts have been put out to bid and if it'd be something that you would be able to look into. Now, getting licensed to become and certified to become a government contracting business is a lot of work. And it's something that if you try and do on your own, you're going to probably get overwhelmed. There are fees that are required that the federal government make you pay, and we can't waive those. But all of the counseling on how to get it done is free of cost, just like the SBDC. And so that is a huge resource. If you go and do a Google on government contracting certification, businesses are going to charge anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 just to do what we can do for free. So this is something that if you haven't looked into it yet, might be something that you would be interested in. And we can definitely get you hooked up with your local PTAC counselor. They have locations throughout the state, but they also travel, or they can do video conferencing to reach you at your remote location. So another thing that you might want to think about when you're looking at the future of your business is the SBIR and the STTR programs. These are actually grant programs through the federal government. You have to be an established business, and the concept is usually something that could benefit the government or a mass number of people. So usually it's Department of Defense, for example. One example of something that got funded recently is an ultrasonic wireless sensor network for data communication and structural health monitoring. So the sensor networks embed on the structures such as pipes, bridges, railways, aircraft wings, and fuselages, among others, and are required to transfer data related to the health of the structure. And then that data is sent to a center where it can be processed, displayed, and analyzed. So these grants, again, usually are a little bit more technical, and they are competitive, but they do exist. So if you have a business that might be interested in something like that, that is something that PTAC would also help you with. Something that might be a little bit more down to earth for rural Arizona is a USDA grant. So they do have value-added producer grant programs, such as if you have an apple orchard and you want to start making applesauce or apple cider, you might be able to get funding to first do the market research and learn if it's a viable and cost-effective venture. And then you might be able to get some funding to do things like marketing and packaging design and stuff like that. So keep that in mind, that there are some things out there available. Again, meeting with your business counselor will help you start that process to see if it's something your business is eligible for. So now that we've discussed how to evaluate where your business is and discovered some of the opportunities of where you want your business to be, let's talk about how you can get there. I want you to think about the last trip that you took, maybe something recent, but it lasted a week or more. And how long did it take you to plan it? I'm guessing at least a couple of months. You probably decided where you were going to go. You started saving money for your trip. You looked at the calendar so you could plan exactly when you wanted to go. You might have been evaluating gas prices and how that affected your budget, or reading reviews on Yelp or Airbnb, probably checking the weather, making sure that you weren't going to run into any hurricanes or blizzards. You might have updated your car maintenance. And then of course there's the little things like taking care of Fido and changing the thermostat and putting your mail on hold. But my point is, for this 1 week of vacation, you probably did a couple months of planning. So my question is, how long do you expect your business to last? Many entrepreneurs will spend more time planning their vacation than they do the growth of their business. So you definitely have to put time and effort in how to get there. You have to have a plan. In fact, this little saying here, a goal without a plan is just a wish, or I like to say a business without a plan is just a dream. So we need to set some goals, we need to make a plan, and we need to execute them. So knowing your financial options and start preparing now is a big one. I have a lot of people who come in who want to expand their business or start a business or buy a business, and they might even have good credit scores. The businesses that they want to start or buy are viable, but they haven't put any money aside. And so that's really hard. Most businesses that want to seek out loans, or business owners, need to have at least 20% cash from their own pockets to put towards a business loan. There isn't 100% financing. So you have to start preparing now for that growth. Now we have a couple of local lending options right now that I do want to share. Again, these are site specific to our area. One of them is the USDA Rural Development Grant. It's called the Red Leg. We call it Red Leg for short. It's the Rural Economic Development Loan Program. And it cannot refinance debt, but it does have some really great terms. In addition to that 20% down that I mentioned, You're going to look for a term of up to 10 years. The loan can go up to $1 million. And the best part is the interest rate is 0%. Now, one of the caveats is you must be in an area serviced by Graham County Electric Co-op. So that is the agency that the USDA funds are coming through. And the Graham County Electric Co-op is looking for people who want to start, relocate, or expand their business within their service area. So that's what they get out of it, is they get the benefit of added service. What you get out of it is a 0% loan. So come one, come all to Graham County and get 0% financing. Local First Arizona is also a partner in our microlending program. It's a 7% interest microloan. They work with people who might not have perfect credit or collateral. The committee is made up of local community members, and it also does require some skin in the game too, though. They're not going to do 100% financing either. But these, again, are some local resources that we have. And we also are going to be talking about these resources and other lenders in an upcoming event, which will be on Thursday, April 16th from 12 to 1 at the EAC Academic Program Building. And it's called Dollars and Donuts. We're going to have some donuts, and we're going to have these lenders, and we're going to talk about these programs. So if your business is looking to expand, please come and join us. And if you're not on our emailing list, shoot me an email and I will get this information out to you as soon as we have it. The other thing that I want to talk to you now is as goal setting. So goal setting, once we start to have a plan in place, we're saving money, how do we set some goals for our business? Well, you might have heard of the SMART goals. Now, some of the wording is different depending on what you're looking at, but SMART goals usually mean specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, relevant or realistic, and then they have some kind of timeline or they're time-based. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with goals because I like to think that I'm working as hard as I can and there's nothing that I would do different if I had a goal. But the fact is that if you look at studies and statistics, actually setting goals in writing that match these criteria of the SMART goals will advance you and your employees and hopefully your business all at the same time. One example that they give in this book that I read here called Smarter, Faster, Better, which is by Charles Duhigg, which is a great book to read, by the way, whether you're a business owner or just somebody looking to improve personally. They give an example of researchers going to I think it was in the 60s or 70s, going to an office building where they have a lot of typesetters. A lot of women were typing. They went to the best, the fastest typers in the whole building, and they were typing about 98 lines per minute. And, or was it per minute? I'm sorry, 98 lines per hour. And 98 lines per hour is a lot of typing. But what they did is they set goals for these women who thought that they were doing their best, and all of the goals measured up to the SMART goals. And what they found out is that they actually got better. Some of them would type an additional 15 lines per hour, which was a big increase, and setting these goals helped them become better. Now, if you've heard about a little company called GE or General Electric, you'll know that GE at one point was the second largest company in the United States. And their board of directors and CEOs would attribute their success to the SMART goal. That's really where SMART goals started. They started the whole concept of having this work contract where the employees would put forth what they wanted to achieve, how they were going to achieve it, when they were going to achieve it. That would go back and forth between their manager and them until they had an official contract. And it was in the 70s that what they actually developed became known as the SMART goal concept. And so there's a lot of information out there that says that if you make these goals towards these criteria, you'll become more successful. And in business, we like to call it strategic planning, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's where we're at now and where we want to be and how we're going to get there. And your SBDC advisor can help you with that. So another thing that I like to talk about too, though, is you can get stuck a little bit with SMART goals because you get so wrapped up in achieving your goals that you might be setting your goals a little too low. That's that joy we get crossing things off our to-do list. Not that we shouldn't have a to-do list and get things crossed off, but sometimes You're only going to meet achievable dreams if you set achievable goals. So let's talk about stretch goals now. So after World War II, the government in Japan was trying to figure out how to rebuild and how to help their citizens. And one of the things that was suggested was this railway that they had between Tokyo and Osaka. Shin Osaka, if you look on this map, that's where the red line is. And this commute went through a really mountainous part of the country, and thousands of people would take the train every day, but the train would take about 3.5 hours for this commute. And it was suggested by the leaders that if they could shorten this commute, that it would transform the country. And so the country set out to try to figure out how to do this. And so the challenge was put to make a railway that would go 120 miles an hour, which was just unheard of at the time. After the challenge was set, after the first year, they increased the railway speed from 55 to 65 miles an hour, which made it the fastest railway at the time in the world. But that wasn't enough. And so they kept setting these stretch goals. Now, one of the key factors in a stretch goal is if you know how to achieve it right away, it's not a stretch goal. That's the whole idea, is you put an idea out there and you think, how in the world am I going to get this done? And that would be a stretch goal. So he started challenging the engineers, and the engineers would say, well, we can't make the train go that fast because it'll flip over and land on its side when it takes these turns. And he said, well, why does the train have to turn? So then they started talking about tunneling through the mountains, and then they had to build a sturdier track, and then they had to move the engine power from the front of the train to every single car and every single part that it would touch on the track. And it was a whole new concept of really trying to figure out what we can do that nobody thought of before. And it was only 9 years later that the first bullet train left on its venture, and it did mark 120 miles an hour during that trip. And it did transform that part of the country. And now there's bullet trains all over. But my point is that it took somebody with a pretty radical idea to challenge the group of workers to even figure out how to do it. So maybe you need to think about that with your business. What is it you think you really want your business to do? It might seem far out there, but let's talk about it and then make a plan. So how can you get there? Well, one of the programs that we have, we've talked about Profit Sense, we've talked about Profit Mastery, but another thing that we have is called Growth Wheel. Now, Growth Wheel is an alternative to a traditional business planning process. You set specific goals, and the decision-making tool will work with you on collaboratively with your business and with the business counselor. And so we'll do an initial analysis where we go through your business and we'll say, where are you at in communications and public relations, or how are things going with your employees? And we'll look at where you are at now. And then we can use spreadsheets to help you set goals in specific areas to improve. So here's just an example. If you do Growth Wheel with your business counselor, you will have your very own logon information. You can access it from home or from the office. You'll log in and you'll be able to see where you're at with your goals. Maybe your counselor has set some new goals for you, posted some new worksheets for you to work on, and then you can continue to grow your business and make plans and have information to make decisions about the actions of your business as you try to get better with maybe product development or customer retention, things like that. So Growth Wheel, again, is going to be free of cost to you. We have a licensing agreement, and we can help you figure out how to grow your business by evaluating where you're at now and then helping you set those goals. So of course, helping you takes a meeting. So make an appointment with your SBDC analyst. Bring those past and current financials with you if you have them available. Let's talk about your goals and your vision for the company and what you want us to do to help you out. Another thing is be willing to do homework. Here is a picture of our Success Awards winners from a couple years back. So these are businesses that came to SBDC and said, we need some assistance. And they didn't just then get one meeting in and then go home and then do their own thing. They kept coming back. How can I do better? How does this look? What more information can you use? What resources do you have? And these businesses have all doing really great. And so be one of these businesses. Make sure that you're willing to do the work if you come in. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call at 928-428-8276. My email address is charmaine.chittister@eac.edu. This broadcast will be available to you on our YouTube channel at any time. Feel free to share it with anybody that you think might also find it useful. And if you have any questions regarding where your nearest SBDC office is, just let me know and I'll help you locate it. And thank you so much for joining us today. This will end our recording, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks so much.